the storm suddenly appeared. Nan Ming's face changed dramatically. He looked up at the man in red in front of him coldly. In the blink of an eye, Nan Ming was already in front of the man in red. He was like lightning, so fast that no one could see him move. Looking from afar, one could only see the silver figure running in the morning light, looking so stunning. Nan Qiyu behind Nan Ming clutching the broken amulet. She looked behind her from time to time. Seeing that those she wanted to come had not yet appeared, she could not help but feel anxious. Soon, she withdrew her gaze and once again looked at the Wolf King. The Wolf King's voice echoed through the sky, so loud that it shook the mountains and forests. He moved faster, which made the man in red's expression grow dark. As Nan Ming approached the man, Nan Qiyu trembled a little. She clenched her fists tightly, and she looked at Nan Ming unblinkingly. She even found it difficult to breathe. Boom! Strong energy from those two exploded around them, destroying the surrounding trees and the entire mountain forest. The figure of the man in red turned into a ray of light, taking advantage of the Wolf King, who was retreating at the moment, and rushed toward Nan Qiyu. Only this time, he did not reach Nan Qiyu, but instead, he stopped a short distance away and set off a burst of power in his hand, which was like a dragon coming out of the sea. In just a short moment, it had almost reached Nan Qiyu. Nan Qiyu took a few steps back. She accidentally fell to the ground, and she could only watch as the murderous red light sped by. Xia xia. The Wolf King was shocked and swiftly headed toward Nan Qiyu. Unfortunately, this time, it was too unprepared. It was too late for him to resist it even though he had rapidly rushed over. However, looking at Nan Kai's delicate little face, the Wolf King did not know where he found the strength when all of a sudden, he was standing before her, blocking the sudden burst of energy with his body. Poof! He spurted a mouthful of blood, staining the ground red. Me for extra chapters. However, the Wolf King did not even care about himself. He hurriedly gazed at Nan Qiyu, and only after seeing the little girl was safe did he sigh in relief quietly. It's good that you're okay. Earlier, he thought that this bastard had given up on striking at Xia Xia and was only focused on fighting him, but he did not expect that he would want to hurt Xia Xia again. He would never forgive anyone who hurt Xia Xia. The Wolf King stood up, perhaps because of the severity of that attack just now. It was still trembling a bit and unable to stand firmly on its feet. His expression, however, was even more determined than just now. Ah Ming, when Nan Qiyu saw Nan Ming in such a condition, her heart ached. She suddenly went forward, pounced over, and hugged Nan Ming tightly. Nan Ming stiffened slightly. He slowly closed his eyes and finally stopped. Ah Ming, that's enough. Don't fight anymore, Xia Xia. When Nan Ming turned his head, he was confronted with the little girl's beautiful eyes. Her eyes were filled with tears, which made Nan Ming's heart hurt a little. He hastily wiped away her tears with his paws. The originally domineering wolf eyes were filled with pain. Ah Ming, I remember now. Nan Qiyu hugged Nan Ming tightly. 10 years ago. You saved me, but I forgot about you. Nan Ming was slightly stunned. He tilted his head and met the young girl's eyes. The young girl's eyes were no longer in tears, but instead, she was smiling gently but firmly. You have protected me before. This time, I want to protect you. How could she allow Ming to protect her every time she got hurt? Back then, Ming had saved her from those people. So this time, it was her turn to save Ming. The man in red frowned and looked at the young girl coldly. Even the Wolf King now was not his opponent, let alone a little girl. Little girl, you have a death wish. The man in red raised his hand, materialized a sword out of thin air, and pointed it at Nan Qiyu. Nan Qiyu stretched out her arms and pushed the Wolf King behind her. As long as I am still here, you are not allowed to bully Ah Ming. The little girl's expression was so firm and serious, and it made people tremble a little. The man in red did not speak. He sneered and rushed up. Nan Ming's face changed dramatically. Endless anger surged to his heart, which made his eyes red. Strong power rose around the Wolf King, gathering up the fallen leaves and making them float in the air. However, just then, there was a loud boom, and a powerful force cut through the air and landed violently upon the man in red's body. The man in red spurted a mouthful of blood, and his body turned into an arc as he flew backward before falling to the ground. He looked up in shock and gazed ahead. A woman in a red dress stood under the moonlight, stunningly beautiful. The man, next to her, was handsome and beautiful like an immortal, looking even more remarkable under the moon. Mother, me for extra chapters. Nan Kai's tears flowed the moment she saw the woman, making people's hearts ache a little. Feng Ruqing lifted her hand and pulled Nan Qiyu into her arms. She turned and looked at the man in red. Murderous rage filled her eyes. The man in red looked a little shocked. He could not believe that there were people who could defeat him here. Was it because he only focused on chasing the Wolf King all these years so much that he had missed out on many things? Mother. Nan Qiyu raised her delicate and pretty little face pitifully. It's him. He bullied Ah Ming and tried to kill me just now. Feng Ruqing raised her hand and set off a gust of wind, sending it to the man in red. The man was once again lifted away, making him spit blood. His face was pale and filled with shock. Who the hell is this woman? Why is she so strong? However, Feng Ruqing did not give him another chance to speak before she attacked again. This time, she stood high in the sky, looking down at the man in red on the ground. Did you want to kill Xia Xia? The man in red clenched his fists tightly. Who the hell are you? Me? Feng Ruqing sneered. I'm the person you can never afford to mess with. Thawed. She raised her leg and kicked the man in red a few meters away. With that strength, how dare he be so arrogant earlier? Feng Ruqing lowered her gaze and looked at Xia Xia in her arms as she asked, Xia Xia, did he touch you? Xia Xia shook her head. But he hurt Ah Ming, and from what he said, it seems like he has been chasing Ah Ming for a long time. The old injuries on Ah Ming's body are also his doing. Feng Ruqing raised her eyes to look at the man in red, and she slowly walked toward him. Every time Feng Ruqing took a step forward, the man in red's heart could not help but tremble. He moved backward, his eyes full of panic. It seemed that he was really frightened and no longer had the arrogance he initially had. Who are you? The man in red gritted his teeth as he asked. Feng Ruqing's face was expressionless, and there was a coldness in her gaze. You shouldn't have come to Luyun Kingdom. I'm just here to find the Wolf King, and it has nothing to do with you. The man in red's face darkened. Feng Ruqing stopped. She raised her hand, a long sword appeared in her hand out of thin air and then she pointed it at the man in red. Unfortunately, Xia Xia won't let you hurt him. Facing the man in red, Feng Ruqing was expressionless. A light cut through the sky as she raised her sword, and it landed on the man in red. To his death, he had never thought about who the person in front of him was and why there was such a strong person hidden in a place like this. Unfortunately, he was not given a chance to say any last words before he fell into a pool of blood, his eyes wide open, dead. Feng Ruqing put the sword back, turned around, and walked toward Nan Qiyu and Nan Ming. Let's go. Nan Qiyu seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at Nan Ming. Ah Ming, the ancient box he mentioned just now. Did you really destroy it? Nan Ming shook his head. He gradually turned into a stunningly beautiful young man standing in front of her. The young man's face was pale, but it did not diminish his beauty in the slightest, and there was a hint of tenderness in his eyebrows. No, I was lying to him just now. After saying these words, he took out the ancient box. Enriching frowned as she saw the ancient box, her gaze was fixed upon it. She walked toward Nan Ming and snatched the box away. She then cautiously caressed the box with a nostalgic look in her eyes. Nan Ming froze but did not speak more. He turned and looked at Enriching calmly. Me for extra chapters. Enriching looked at Nan Ming. She took a deep breath and asked, "Why is this thing in your hands?" Nan Ming pondered for a moment. "This is my clan's greatest treasure back then. The clan's elders handed it to me before they died." "Do you know about this ancient box?" Enriching smiled faintly. "More than knowing, I'm simply too familiar with it. Mother, just now, that person said that this box was left by the 9th Emperor." Nan Qiyu blinked and said earnestly, "Emisham." Enriching nodded, a smile bloomed upon her lips. "Indeed, I have been looking for this for a long time." Nan Qiyu was dumbfounded. Did her mother mean that the man in red had hunted down Nan Ming for so long, just for this love letter? She looked back at the man in red behind her and suddenly felt that he had died somewhat unjustly. "Let's go." Enriching turned to Nan Xian and smiled gently. State Preceptor Nan Xian raised his hand and gently wrapped his arm around her waist. His smile was as warm as a clear spring, just like when they had first met. Nan Qiyu followed Enriching, staring at the two people in front of her. She pursed her lips, turned to Nan Ming, and asked, 10 years ago, that wolf was also you. Why did you not tell me that at first?" She became furious as she thought of that. This damn Nan Ming has lied to me not only once or twice. Nan Ming raised his hand and held Nan Kai's hand. "Back then, you never thought of me as a wolf." He was afraid that even if he said that, Nan Qiyu might not believe him. Moreover, the things which happened 10 years ago had already passed, and what he wanted now was the current Nan Qiyu. "Nan Ming." Nan Qiyu gritted her teeth and grabbed Nan Ming's lapel. "You have lied to me so many times. If you want me to forgive you, that is never possible." "You still." Nan Ming subconsciously frowned and seemed to be somewhat physically uncomfortable. Seeing his expression, Nan Qiyu froze for a moment, panicked. However, she tried not to show it. She snorted and arrogantly said, "For the sake of your injury, I'll forgive you this time." A gentle smile grew upon Nan Ming's face as he heard these words. "Xia xia." He raised his hand and pulled Nan Qiyu into his arms, hugging her tightly. As if the girl in his arms was his world, and he would never let her go. "It is an honor for me to meet you in this life." A bright smile bloomed upon his face. 10 years ago, when Mother came to pick me up, you left without saying goodbye. So this time, will you still leave? I want me for extra chapters. 10 years ago, he was seriously injured and did not want to drag Xia Xia down with him. Now, he had no more reason to leave her. He would never leave her. "Oh," Nan Qiyu left his embrace and raised her head. The smile on that little face of hers carried an innocent splendor. "This is your promise to me. If you leave without saying goodbye again next time, in the future, you will never see me again." Nan Ming bowed his head. His gentle gaze fell upon the young girl's exquisite and beautiful face. "Never. Pinky swear." The young girl smiled faintly and extended her finger. Nan Ming froze. He was a little confused but still followed the young girl's gesture and hooked her finger. The morning sun warmed the ground that had been turned into ruins. It warmed Nan Kai's heart today. Perhaps they were destined to be together since the first encounter 10 years ago. Now, they were holding each other's hands together and never letting go again. After walking up ahead, Feng Ruqing looked back again and saw the two people under the sunlight. She smiled faintly, turned around, and walked back to Luyun Kingdom. Her figure gradually faded away, leaving only the young girl standing in the sunlight. In a small town of Fengyun Kingdom. The sky was dark. Countless skilled masters were standing in the air. They held long swords that were all pointed at the girl standing on the ground. The girl was in a mess, covered in blood, but her gaze was unwavering. She looked coldly at those skilled masters who surrounded her. Her eyes were cold as she clenched the long sword in her hand tightly. Xinqingwan, are you still trying to escape to this place? Remember, everyone in this town died because of you. It was an honor that our young master liked you, but you ignored him. Now you've dragged everyone down with you. You will be blamed for this. The girl named Xinqingwan clutched her long sword tightly. Her mouth was stained by blood, and her face was pale. Bottomless anger, as well as hatred, surged to her heart as she heard those words. Capture her and bring her to our young master. As the head of the group, the elder snorted coldly, and even the way he gazed at Xinqingwan carried a hint of disdain. He did not like this girl. Xinqingwan took a few steps back, she seemed cautious. Her hand holding the long sword trembled slightly. She looked at the dead bodies strewn everywhere and gradually closed her eyes. She had dragged everyone down, these people were right. She was a despairing sinner. She must avenge these people even if it would cost her life. Suddenly, Xinqingwan opened her eyes that were filled with a deep hatred. Steeply, she moved toward the skilled masters. However, there were so many people on the other side. No matter how hard she tried, she could not kill everyone with her sword. The elder smiled coldly as he saw Xinqingwan's desperate look. This girl should be proud to marry young master as a concubine. But she would rather die than obey him, and thus she has dragged everyone in the town down with her. The elder waved his sleeve and instantly rushed toward Xinqingwan. His palm landed upon her chest, sending her flying backward and landing in the crowd. She spurted a mouthful of blood, staining the ground red. The elder pointed his long sword at Xinqingwan with a ruthless look in his eyes. Me for extra chapters. Xinqingwan, I'm giving you a chance. Are you willing to follow us? Xinqingwan laughed coldly. The smile on her lips arched even more with a sneer. You have killed so many of my villagers, and you want me to follow you? Ridiculous. I would rather be buried here than submit myself to him. Young master said if you are unwilling. Only can I. The elder raised the long sword in his hand expressionlessly. A cold light flashed on his long sword. However, the moment his long sword was about to fall, a light came from the back, seemingly like lightning, and penetrated his chest with a boom. Blood seeped out of his chest, staining his lapel red. His pupils widened, and he fell with a thud. The whole city fell silent. Xinqingwan slowly looked up until her eyes fell upon the person in the sky. A stunning figure in a red dress stood in the sky. However, she could not see that person's face because a mask covered it. She could not tell whether that person was a man or a woman. Xinqingwan froze as she looked at the person in front of her with fascination. A hint of amazement flashed in her gaze. The skilled masters also stopped rushing to her, and all their eyes were fixed upon the person above. It was as if the entire sky were reflected by her stunning beauty, making the sunset even more beautiful than ever. Suddenly, someone among the crowd let out a shocked voice, trembling. You are the ninth emperor. The figure in red turned and looked at the person who spoke. People could not see her face but could feel her eyes move. Even her voice was so intense and shocking. Did you kill all these people just now? Her words were cold and unnerving. Shen Qinghuan finally regained her senses and kneeled on the ground. Her voice was filled with grief and anger. Their young master of Xianming clan took advantage of me the last time and forced me to be his concubine. I didn't want to, so they slaughtered everyone in this city. She did not want to be his concubine. She did not want to be with someone she did not love, so why did they involve so many innocent people? Until now, Shen Qinghuan did not understand why the influential people in this world were so arrogant and cruel. She trembled slightly. The ninth emperor descended from the sky and approached the young girl kneeling on the ground. She placed her hand in front of her, and there was a hint of warmth on her cold expression. Stand up, however, her voice was so domineering. Shen Qinghuan froze and looked at the ninth emperor in confusion, but she still put her hand on her palm and slowly rose from the ground with her help. Remember, don't kneel before anyone, even me. Never. The ninth emperor slowly turned and glanced at the crowd. Her gaze was cold and heartless, and her voice was as bland as the wind. Because the ones who should kneel are them. Endless energy surged around her, raising a storm in the city. This storm was cold, making people shudder. Me for extra chapters. Ninth Emperor. One of the skilled masters was shocked. Why would you want to meddle in this troublesome business? Numerous forces in this mainland have long been dissatisfied with you. In this tough world, the weak are not qualified to survive and you, poof. As soon as the man said that, a sword appeared out of thin air and pierced through his body. His eyes widened abruptly, and he fell backward with a thud into a pool of blood. The ninth emperor put the sword back and looked at Shen Qinghuan next to her expressionlessly. Are there any other alive men in this city? Shen Qingluan's heart ached, and she shook her head. She lowered her gaze that was filled with grief and pain. There are no more. Oh, the ninth emperor nodded with empathy. I get it. So, she offered her hand and pulled Shen Qinghuan to her, holding her waist tightly. Shen Qinghuan looked up and into the ninth emperor's eyes. Her heart suddenly beat faster, and she quickly lowered her gaze. She acknowledged that if it were not for the ninth emperor, perhaps she would not have survived today, let alone taken revenge. She owed the ninth emperor and must spend her entire life to repay her. The ninth emperor raised her hands. The ground suddenly burst into flames and was like a dragon, engulfing all the people before them. They burned in the fire and could not even escape it. Let's go. The ninth emperor released her hand and walked out of the city. Before Shen Qinghuan left, she took one last look at the city, which was engulfed in flames, and she slowly closed her eyes, her gaze filled with grief. This was the place where she had lived since childhood, and now, there was nothing left there. Xianming clan. One day, she would personally kill her enemies with her hands and avenge the innocents who had lost their lives. Shen Qinghuan turned around, followed the ninth emperor, heading toward the city gates. She never looked back at the blazing fire that rose behind her again, but the flames reflected her back, so resilient and unyielding. Ninth Emperor, Shen Qinghuan stopped in her tracks as she arrived outside the city. Her gaze fell upon the person in front of her. Thank you for saving me earlier. The ninth emperor turned around calmly. That's nothing. You can go now. Shen Qinghuan was slightly stunned. She bit her lip and lowered her head. I have nowhere to go. Can I follow you? The ninth emperor turned her back on Shen Qinghuan behind her and stared into the void. A gust of wind blew. Her red dress was fluttered in the wind. Over the years, I have offended many and made countless enemies. If you follow me, you are bound to face many dangers. You have saved my life. I am not afraid of anything. I also want to find Xianming clan and get my revenge. I will pay with my whole life as the price. Shen Qinghuan raised her shiny gaze. The light in her gaze was so dazzling that it was more brilliant than sunlight. In the light breeze, the ninth emperor raised her hand and gently took off her mask. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, so stunningly beautiful. Shen Qinghuan was stunned seeing her beautiful face. Her skin was as translucent as jade, perfect and flawless, absolutely beautiful. What was more shocking was the famous ninth emperor. Was she a girl? And so stunningly beautiful. Me for extra chapters. You're a woman. Do you know how to cook? The ninth emperor frowned and asked indifferently. Shen Qinghuan blushed, and she lowered her head. No, the ninth emperor looked a little disappointed. I came out this time to find someone who can cook, but in the end, there is still none. Her tone was filled with disappointment that it made Shen Qinghuan feel wronged. I can try. Shen Qinghuan lowered her head, blushing. The ninth emperor shook her head. Forget it. You'll just go find someone else who can cook later. Hearing this, Shen Qinghuan panicked. She rushed toward the ninth emperor and said, I can't cook now, but I can learn. Please. Do not leave me in this place. I have no home, and I am willing to learn anything. As long as you can take me with you. Shen Qinghuan trembled, her eyes filled with sorrow. She no longer had a home now, the ninth emperor was her last hope, and she did not want to let it go. The ninth emperor turned around, looked at the girl behind her, and asked. So, what are you still standing there for? Why don't you follow me? It's getting late. We should go back now. Shen Qinghuan was dumbfounded. She looked at the figure in front of her, and a warm feeling surged in her heart. She hurriedly followed her, strolling toward the sunset. The two figures gradually disappeared in the evening sun. The Fengyan Kingdom border was crowded these last few days, making the people a little uneasy, especially the residents who lived near the border. The place was in darkness. All the people from various major forces came with heavy expressions. I heard that something strange happened at the border of Fengyan Kingdom lately. A treasure has appeared, but I don't know what this treasure is. The man in green robes spoke. His face was cold as he looked around cautiously. I didn't expect Long Eagle's sect to come as well. Just as he said that, an old master in grey robe slowly stepped forward. He smirked and turned to the green-robed man next to him. Young Master Zhang, long time no see. Zhang Tian sneered. It seemed that this time, the mystery treasure had attracted a lot of people. Even this old master of everlasting life's sect was interested in it. However, no one knew what it was. Zhang Tianwen ignored the old master. He turned to look at the sky and frowned. More people are coming. We need to go first. We must not let these people get to the treasure. Unfortunately, soon as Zhang Tianwen said that, a powerful force appeared and spread across the sky, shocking everyone. Zhang Tianwen stopped in his tracks. He turned to look at the sky behind him. His breathing suddenly grew heavy, and his expression abruptly tensed up. The crowd's faces also changed dramatically. They seemed panicked as they looked at the bright sky. A figure in a red dress appeared in the sky, looking so overbearing. She wore a mask, stood in mid-air, and stared at the people present. Ninth Emperor. Why did she come? Didn't they all keep this news from her, yet she was here anyway, me for extra chapters. This place is really lively. The Ninth Emperor laughed. I wonder what are you all gathering here for? Zhang Tianwen smiled faintly. We are just taking a walk here. Yeah. Just strolling around, that's right. We're bored, so we're just strolling around. The old master who had just spoken to Zhang Tianwen immediately responded. With these two speaking this way, the others also hurriedly nodded along. We can't let the ninth emperor know that there's a mysterious treasure hidden here. Otherwise, the treasure will be snatched away by this robber. Oh, the ninth emperor waved her long sleeves, chuckling. Is that so? From her tone, one could sense that she did not believe them. Everyone looked pissed, and some people even cursed the person who had revealed this to the ninth emperor. However, at this moment, someone suddenly spoke, breaking the silence. Shinchingwan, you're here too. This voice was filled with arrogance. Everyone was stunned, following that person's gaze to the young girl who stood at the back of the crowd. That girl was indeed as beautiful as a painting. However, no one knew where this girl came from. Moreover, everyone's eyes were focused on the ninth emperor, and they did not notice this girl. Shin Qinghuan heard this familiar voice. She trembled as she clenched her fists tightly and closed her eyes. Endless anger surged in her heart. The young master of Xianming clan, Ouyang, when the crowd saw Ouyang Ying's reaction, they were also somewhat surprised. It was said that this Ouyang Ying was born perverted. He already had countless beautiful concubines in at home, but soon as he saw another beauty, like how he saw this beautiful girl now, he would intend to take her as a concubine. However, based on the girl's reaction, she did not like Ouyang Ying at all. The old master standing next to Ouyang Ying deliberately lowered his voice and said, "Young master, the ninth emperor is here." "We still, ninth emperor," Ouyang Ying smiled and looked up. "This girl is my concubine. I never thought that I would find her here with another man. I believe that you need to return her, right? In this mainland, the strongest ones were the most important, and the weaker had no chance to survive. The ninth emperor had suddenly appeared in this mainland. She had never been in any forces and would forbid them to bully the weak. So, all the forces hated her, but still, they could not do anything about her. Therefore, he needed to find an excuse if he wanted to take Shinchinghuan back. To him, Shinchinghuan should be grateful that he was willing to take her as a concubine and should not reject his offer. The ninth emperor rested her hand on her cheek and looked at Ouyang Ying smilingly. "Really?" Ouyang Ying turned to Shinchinghuan, warning her with his eyes, and then turned to the ninth emperor. "Yes, it's true. This bitch ran away with someone else. I'll take her back and teach her well." Suddenly, a gust of wind blew across the sky, and in the blink of an eye, the ninth emperor was standing in front of Ouyang Ying. Me for extra chapters. With a poof, her leg landed heavily upon Ouyang Ying's body, instantly kicking him away before he landed in the middle of the crowd. Ouyang Ying spurted a mouthful of blood. He looked up at the ninth emperor angrily. "Ninth emperor, why would you still want to meddle in such a matter?" Boom! The ninth emperor raised her hand and once again grabbed Ouyang Ying from the ground. Her mask refracted a cold light in the sunlight. It was cold enough to send a chill down one's spine. Ouyang Ying's face darkened, looking at the ninth emperor with even more monstrous anger. However, the ninth emperor then strangled him fiercely. She smiled coldly. "Unfortunately, when I came just now, I passed by a small city. And I happened to see your Xianming clan's people slaughtering the residents to force a girl to be a concubine." Ouyang Ying froze. He looked up at the ninth emperor and panicked. That girl was Shinchinghuan. "So, do you now know why I want to kill you now?" After saying that, the ninth emperor no longer gave Ouyang Ying a chance to speak, and with a mighty force, she strangled Ouyang Ying hard. Ouyang Ying spurted blood again, turning the ground red. His head moved for the last time, and then, nothing. The young master of Xianming clan had lost his life just like that. Shinchinghuan silently walked to the ninth emperor's side with a longing look upon her face. Everyone else's eyes were filled with horror, and they looked at the ninth emperor with more fear. The people of Xianming clan finally reacted and surrounded the ninth emperor in the middle. Their young master had been killed before them. If they went back to Xianming clan, their master would not let them go. Now, they could only fight with the ninth emperor, even if they knew there was no chance of winning. The ninth emperor glanced at the people of Xianming clan coldly. She did not even need to make a move because a powerful force had suddenly risen from the ground, hitting all the people of Xianming clan. Their body exploded violently, and blood spilled all over the ground. Her gaze was still domineering and fierce as if she was the ruler of this world, and it made people tremble hard like in hell. The ninth emperor walked toward Zhang Tianwen. Her gaze was cold while her body set off a powerful storm. Feeling such strong force, Zhang Tianwen subconsciously gulped, and his body trembled. Actually, we are not here for a stroll. We heard that there's a strange object hidden here, so we, the ninth emperor, stopped and frowned. A strange object? Well, it seems that I will get something from this trip. All one, follow me, she said and smiled faintly. Shen Qinghuan followed her obediently, docile and dutiful. She did not even glance at the people of Xianming clan lying on the ground. Her eyes were fixed upon the ninth emperor. Where is that strange object? She asked as she glanced at Zhang Tianwen coldly. Zhang Tianwen's face turned pale, his legs were trembling. He wanted to get away from the ninth emperor but did not dare to move. I am not sure. Oh, the ninth emperor raised an eyebrow. Then, lead the way. I want to see what kind of strange object is out of the ground and attracts so many people, too. I'm surprised that I still do not know about this. Those people were already frightened. Who knew that they were so frightened that they almost collapsed when they heard the ninth emperor's last sentence? It was hard to believe that the ninth emperor knew that they had deliberately hidden the news to keep her from knowing about the strange object. Me for extra chapters. The more people knew about this matter, the lower their chances of winning. Each of them hoped that they could find it. However, if the ninth emperor already knew about it, they were afraid that even after they put their best effort into getting the treasure, it would not be theirs. Yet, everyone was already here, and they did not look like they would retreat. Even if there was no chance of winning, maybe they could still pick up some things that the ninth emperor did not want. The ninth emperor walked ahead with Shen Qinghuan, and the people behind them subconsciously sighed with relief when they saw that the ninth emperor was not paying attention to them. I heard that the eldest grandson of the Nan family is also here. TSK, the Nan family is really pitiful. The whole family has been killed, leaving only Nan Chongfeng alone. When Nan Chongfeng was young, he was hidden somewhere, giving him the chance to escape the disaster. After more than 10 years later, he came back to avenge the Nan family. Unfortunately, what is the point of taking revenge? The Nan family is no longer there, leaving him alone in the world. Nan Chongfeng. The ninth emperor paused for a moment. She did accidentally think that this name sounded good. She did not think much about the other. She shook her head, and her eyes were filled with some regret. The whole family has been killed. It's such big revenge, sigh, poor Nan Chongfeng. Wait. Soon, the noise in the desert once again went quiet. The ninth emperor was stunned. She turned around blankly. That person was the beautiful young man in white robes with long silver hair and a silver vertical line between the eyebrows. He was as beautiful as a stunning painting, and even the ninth emperor, who was used to seeing beauty, could not help but feel amazed at his beauty. This young man was too handsome, and he was the most beautiful-looking man she had ever seen. However, he was cold and expressionless. It's Nan Chongfeng of the Nan family. The crowd looked surprised. They knew that Nan Chongfeng was good-looking, but they did not expect this man to be this beautiful. They had long heard that there were countless beauties in the Ninth Emperor's manor, but the way she looked at Nan Chongfeng proved that the beauties in her manor were not as stunning as this Nan family's young master. Nan Chongfeng perhaps sensed her looking at him, so he looked up and met the Ninth Emperor's gaze in the air. However, he quickly withdrew his gaze, shyly. Shen Qingyuan was also a bit stunned when she saw Nan Chongfeng, but her expression changed as she looked at the Ninth Emperor next to her. Nan Chongfeng was indeed a handsome young man, but it still could not compare to the Ninth Emperor's beauty. It was really hard for anyone to resist such a look. After Shen Qingyuan saw that the Ninth Emperor was staring at Nan Chongfeng, she could not help but pout, touching her face. Perhaps I'm not beautiful enough, and the Ninth Emperor doesn't want to look at me anymore. This Nan Chongfeng. Other than the looks, I really don't understand how he can attract the Ninth Emperor. Fortunately, the Ninth Emperor did not look too long. She then turned around and smiled faintly. She had liked beautiful people since childhood. Because of that, the girls in Cloud Mountain were all as beautiful as goddesses. However, her Feng Mountain had never accepted any men. Only Nan Chongfeng. He was so beautiful that she almost could not look away. Let's go, she said with a smile and shrugged. Everyone else came back to their senses and walked to the front. The most important thing today was to find the strange object. Me for extra chapters. Today's desert, for some reason, was so quiet. The quietness through the eerie aura made people shudder. The Ninth Emperor also did not know how long she must walk. She still did not find any strange object. Now, she even began to doubt whether this was a conspiracy against her. However, a few moments later, the whole desert suddenly shook. A fierce storm came. Sand and dust filled the sky, and some people with low strength directly disappeared into thin air in the storm, leaving no trace behind. You lied to me. The Ninth Emperor's voice was so cold that it could make people tremble. With these words, she made the present people panic. Zhang Tianwen's voice was filled with anxiety. Why would we lie to you? We wouldn't have come along if we wanted to deceive you. We really heard that there are strange objects hidden here. Who knew that such things would happen? His voice was tinged with tears and endless grievances. The Ninth Emperor turned and saw a huge python coming. This python was golden yellow, huge. It could swallow a dozen people in one bite. It was so big, and all the people were scared of it. Everyone was panicked. They just came to find a treasure, but who knew that they would encounter this kind of thing? The python moved too fast, rushing toward them through the sand and dust. The Ninth Emperor's face sank. An ancient fierce beast. I did not expect it would appear here. I guess it deliberately created this to attract people. It was a fierce beast, not just a surrounding spirit beast, and would not be driven by humans, much less be contracted by them, and it could even swallow heaven and earth. It was born to kill, and it had no other meaning of existence other than killing. This was the origin of the fierce beast. It indeed can swallow the world. An extremely nice voice came from the side. The Ninth Emperor turned to look, and her gaze fell upon the young man's stunningly beautiful face. The young man smiled gently. The smile was beautiful, like a hand that was tantalizing her heart. The moment the Ninth Emperor saw the young man, she had only one thought. She wanted to take him home and raise him. However, now it was too late. The golden python was already in front of her, and with just one bite, it swallowed a group of people fiercely. All of you get out of the way. The Ninth Emperor jumped up to the sky, and a sword appeared out of thin air in her hand before she started stabbing the python several times with it. This was the only way to deal with the ancient fierce beasts. Hiss! The golden python hissed painfully, making the crowd tremble in fear. The Ninth Emperor's sword pierced through its tough skin, and blood flowed out, staining its skin red. The crowd was somewhat shocked. This was an ancient beast, and its body was like steel, tough and indestructible, but the ninth emperor could hurt it. Just how much power did it cost to do so? Everyone trembled. It seemed like the only one who could fight the ancient fierce beast was the ninth emperor. Therefore, even though many mainland people hated her, no one ever dared to provoke her. They could only curse her secretly and dared not even to say it out loud in front of her. Me for extra chapters. The ninth emperor's sword fell again, and this time, she used more strength, and the long sword ruthlessly pierced into the golden python's skin, causing great pain to the golden python. Hiss! The golden python's eyes were red with a vicious look. Tell me, did you intentionally create that vision? The ninth emperor stood atop of the golden python, scanning it. She was still holding the long sword in her hand with a threatening look in her eyes. Blood dripped from the blade, causing the golden python's huge body to tremble. It tried desperately with all its might to throw the ninth emperor off its body, but the ninth emperor plunged the sword down again, heavily into its back. Hiss! The golden python was in pain. It was just hungry, and few people did come here nowadays, so it wanted to deceive some people to eat them. Who knew it would meet this vicious woman? Perhaps the pain was too intense. The golden python could not resist and hurriedly nodded. Its hissing was not as fierce as earlier. Are you the one who tricked people into coming here to satisfy your appetite? Hiss! The golden python nodded again, and its gaze was filled with tears. Its skin, harder than steel, was the reason why no one could hurt it. As for why someone used the golden python. That golden python was the first to be swallowed by the lava. It died because of that person. Poor python. Suddenly, the ground under the ninth emperor's feet cracked, and just as she almost fell, someone firmly grabbed her. The ninth emperor looked up and saw a stunning face. The young man's beauty was so overwhelming that everyone in the world was amazed by it. There was a light in his eyes that the ninth emperor could not read. You, the ninth emperor gazed hesitantly. This young man looked cold, as handsome as an immortal. But why did he save her? Ninth emperor, Nan Chongfeng looked at the ninth emperor and smiled. It seems that you don't remember me. We know each other, the ninth emperor asked blankly. Nan Chongfeng smiled faintly. More than 10 years ago, you told me that in this world, there is nothing that one cannot do and that humans themselves are a miracle. So I took revenge for the Nan family and then came to you. Had the ninth emperor not told him that back then, Nan Chongfeng would not have lived to see today. The ninth emperor froze, and this sentence gradually became clearer in her mind. It seemed that, indeed, there was such a thing. It was just that she had forgotten it. With Nan Changfeng's help, the ninth emperor leaped up and stood on the ground. She looked at the cracked gap and turned to look at Nan Chongfeng. Do you trust me? Of course, I trust you. Good, the ninth emperor smiled. She held the young man's hand gently, and her eyes were filled with light. Later, you and I, will jump in together. Nan Chongfeng turned to look at the ninth emperor. His eyes were clear, and he slowly nodded. All right, me for extra chapters. From the moment I chose to come to you, I will always trust you. Regardless if it were lava or hell down there, I will certainly trust you. All the people were busy dodging the cracked ground, but in the twinkling of an eye, they saw the ninth emperor take Nan Chongfeng down in a single bound and into that molten lava. They were so frightened and shocked. Crazy. These two are crazy. Even the ninth emperor is so scared that she commits suicide. Aren't we dead then? If even the ninth emperor could not avoid the disaster, let alone them, so, this time, they were really in trouble. The crowd squatted in despair, all with a look of grief in their faces, and all had lost their confidence in dodging. However, at this moment, the ninth emperor had fallen into the lava but did not feel the slightest pain. She then knew that her guess just now was right. She slowly opened her eyes, and the moment she did, she found that she was not standing in the magma but had landed on top of it. She smiled. It seems that I have guessed it right. There is no volcano or lava here. It's all just an illusion. An illusion. Well, this illusion will transform with your thoughts. I was able to throw Shinchingwan out initially, so why can't we fly into the air? That is precisely because of others' behavior. Someone is too frightened, afraid of not being able to fly here, and because of his fear, the illusion restricts his ability. He cannot leave, nor can he fly away. That way, others will also be influenced. The illusion can easily change the situation for all. The ninth emperor frowned, a cold light flashed in her eyes. Initially, I also did not notice that this is an illusion. Until just now, when I almost fell into the lava. But I want to leave this place. Logically, if you cannot fly in the air, I cannot climb up either. Yet, in the end, I could still do it. As for, she glanced at the bodies on the ground. Those were the same people who had just gone forward together, and now they were all dead. However, there were no signs of injury or burn on their body, yet each of these people's eyes was wide open, obviously scared to death. The reason these people didn't survive is that fear dominated them. They were scared to death. This is the ability of the illusionary realm. I just don't know who has actually set this up. Hard and fast, playing everyone in the palm of their hands. The ninth emperor did not expect that when she told Nan Chongfeng to jump, the young man would really do so. I don't know whether to call him stupid or, hee. Suddenly, a burst of cold laughter with an eerie aura that spread throughout the sky appeared. As expected. The ninth emperor can identify even such a realistic illusion. A man slowly descended from the sky as he spoke. This man had a smile upon his face, yet his face was gloomy. He smiled like a poisonous snake, and when a person looked at it, it seemed as if a poisonous snake had wrapped itself around that person's neck. It gave people a feeling of hate and discomfort. The ninth emperor looked at the man coldly. Who are you? I'm here to find Nan Chongfeng. The man smirked. Ninth emperor, you'd better stay out of this business. This is a personal matter between Nan Chongfeng and me. The ninth emperor sneered. And what if I want to interfere? Then, there is no way out for you. The man shrugged. I am no match for you now, but I will never rest on my grudge with Nan Chongfeng in this life. I will do everything I can to take revenge. That illusion just now was just a little lesson, me for extra chapters. Nan Chongfeng looked at the man coldly. Your father could not stop me, let alone you. That old man is too stupid to know how to use conspiracies and tricks, but I will never let you go. Ha. The man did not seem to want to stay much, and he came only to reveal himself. Therefore, he looked at Nan Chongfeng, said all these, and ascended into the air. The ninth emperor wanted to stop him from leaving, but the man had disappeared in the blink of an eye. It was as if he was never here. The ninth emperor frowned. Who is he? At this moment, Nan Changfeng's aura turned colder. When he looked at the ninth emperor, the coldness in his eyes all dispersed and was replaced with warmth. His father killed my whole family, so I exterminated his clan, only he escaped. Oh, the ninth emperor did not think much as she was not interested in that man. She turned to look at Nan Chongfeng and asked, then, do you want to go back with me? You are homeless now, and I happen to be short of a handyman over there. She stroked her chin. In Cloud Mountain were only a group of beautiful and gentle girls. How could they do those rough work? So she had come out here this time to bring someone back to do the chores. Well, this Nan Chongfeng came just in time. A very good-looking person who was pleasing to the eye was the kind of person she liked. All right, Nan Chongfeng agreed. A smile bloomed upon his handsome face. Oh, by the way, do you know how to cook? The ninth emperor frowned. Even though she knew how to make some homemade herbal dishes, she was too lazy to do it, and the girls at home were all not good at cooking, so she could only find someone else. I do. What about laundry? I do. So what you cannot do? The ninth emperor held her chin and asked. Nan Chongfeng was silent. He thought for a long time before he said, giving birth to a child. I can't. The ninth emperor was speechless. For some reason, hearing these words, the ninth emperor actually had an urge to smack him to death. Luckily, looking at that beautiful face, she held it back. Well, let's go home. The girls in my mountain are getting impatient. She had been away from home for some time now. The girls at home might start making trouble again. If she did not go back, she was afraid that they would tear down her manor. Nan Chongfeng was slightly stunned. Go home. It seemed that he had been away without a home for a long time. The ninth emperor noticed his expression. She raised her hand and patted his head. Let's go. In the future, everywhere I am, it is bound to be your home as long as you can wash, cook, and clean. That'll be enough. Nan Chongfeng smiled. Indeed, from now on, he would have a home. Within Cloud Mountain, a group of young girls rushed out. Their eyes filled with surprise, especially after sensing the familiar aura. Suddenly, all of them froze, standing still and not moving. Even a wolf girl, who wanted to pounce over, could not help but stop, bite her lip, and stand still. Me for extra chapters. The ninth emperor alone, in a red dress, was stunning. Her mask had been taken off, revealing her beautiful face. A young man followed next to her. He was so charming, with the silver hair that accentuated his beauty, and the silver vertical lines between the eyebrows, like lightning, stunning everyone's eyes. However, when the girls saw the young man, there was only resentment in their eyes. The ninth emperor went out, but how come she brought back a man? We don't need men in Feng Mountain. Ninth emperor. The wolf girl Tian Xian slowly walked toward the ninth emperor, and her gaze flooded with grievances. Who is he? Oh, the ninth emperor raised her eyebrows. I got him to do some chores. A handyman. Hearing this, the young girls were relieved. Since the boy was so beautiful, they were really afraid that he would bewitch the ninth emperor. Moreover, the ninth emperor never seemed to like men. She only wanted girls. Thinking of this, they were even more relieved, and the way they looked at Nan Chongfeng was not as hostile as it was just now. Chongfeng, the ninth emperor stroked her chin and turned to look at Nan Chongfeng. To conveniently take care of our living and home, you will live next door to me. Is that fine? The young man smiled stunningly. All right, I'm tired, and I want to rest first. Oh, his name is Nan Chongfeng. The ninth emperor, who wanted to leave the place, paused for a moment. She smiled and said, now, he is also part of us here. So don't bully him. Oh, Tian Xian pouted, a little aggrieved. The ninth emperor just brought him back, but she had become so protective of him. If more time went by, would there no longer be a place for them? Just thinking about it, Tian Xian was a little worried. They did not feel good about men, but on the contrary, the ninth emperor seemed to like him a lot. Fortunately, he was only a handyman. Otherwise, it would not take long for the ninth emperor to fall for him. With his look, he was deliberately trying to hook up with the ninth emperor. Of course, the ninth emperor did not know the complex thoughts of the girls. She was indeed a little tired. She stretched her back and went to the backyard. As soon as the ninth emperor left, the smile on Nan Changfeng's face also disappeared. He looked so cold in his white robes, as handsome as an immortal. Looking at the young man with this cold appearance, the girls could not imagine that he was brought back by the ninth emperor to do chores. Did she not want to keep him as a male pet? Nan Changfeng, Tian Xian mused for a moment and said, "You are the only man in our cloud mountain, so," she paused for a moment and hummed, "there is one thing I must tell you." Nan Changfeng scanned Tian Xian coldly, and his face was expressionless. Tian Xian gritted her teeth. The ninth emperor doesn't like men. Just look at Cloud Mountain. There are no men here. Nan Changfeng ignored Tian Xian and turned around to walk in the direction where the ninth emperor had just left. Seemingly, he did not take Tian Xian's words to heart. Tian Xian froze, her face was red from anger. Bastard! I think he does not have good intentions. He is coming for the ninth emperor. Tian Xian, I don't think so. The one who said this was another girl, in a green dress, with a clear and lovely look, along with a pair of eyes as clear as water, extraordinarily pleasing to the eye. When she smiled, there were also two shallow dimples. The ninth emperor has said that he is a handyman. He can't have feelings for the ninth emperor. But if the ninth emperor really has a man, I am afraid that she will not care about us anymore. All men are bad. Each of them will take 3 or 4 concubines at once. In their eyes, we women are just clothes. The ninth emperor is a good and perfect person. How can she be deceived by those bastards, me for extra chapters? That's right, that's right. The ninth emperor brought me back because my father's concubine always bullied me. My father spoiled his concubine and abused his wife. For the sake of that concubine, he gashed my mother to death and treated me harshly. If not because of the ninth emperor, I would have been tortured to death by that concubine. So, I do not believe in men. They are so philandering and blame the women for being jealous. It was so difficult to find a man who would devote himself to one woman in this world. They could not imagine that the mighty ninth emperor had to compete with other women for her man's love. It might ruin the ninth emperor's reputation. Don't worry. If the ninth emperor really liked him, she would not have just got him to work as a handyman. She could have directly brought him back as her husband. But I think she doesn't have the heart to do so, a girl in a red dress said smilingly. Moreover, the ninth emperor already has us. What else does she need men for? The ninth emperor was so powerful. She surely did not need those bastards to accompany her. She already had them, and that was enough, the women sighed in relief. They knew the ninth emperor well. If she really liked him, she would directly marry and bring him into the bridal chamber. So why would she call him a handyman? Impossible, it must be that they were thinking too much. At this moment, they did not know, because of their momentary negligence, Nan Changfeng had taken the opportunity to get close to the ninth emperor and made her fall for him to the point where she wanted to marry him. It was night. The moonlight poured like water. The ninth emperor turned around and froze, her eyes widened. Her gaze fell upon a handsome face, the beauty that made her heart skip a beat. Nan Changfeng. Her face changed dramatically, and with a hard slap, she woke the young man lying next to her. Nan Changfeng opened his eyes and stared at the ninth emperor smilingly. You're awake. The ninth emperor's face darkened. Nan Changfeng, why are you in my bed? I have arranged a room for you, so what are you doing here? She did not notice when he got into her bed. Nan Changfeng smiled innocently. I came to warm your bed. I was afraid you might be cold at night. The ninth emperor was slightly stunned. She realized that she had misunderstood Nan Changfeng and said embarrassedly, "Oh, I thought you wanted to do something to me. But why do you want to warm my bed?" Nan Changfeng looked so innocent. Such a young man, one could not imagine that he had any ill intention. His gaze. It could make the ninth emperor's heart skip a beat. As I said, I will do everything, including warming the bed, which is also one of my tasks. The young man's expression was sincere and serious, leaving no room for doubt. The nine emperors thought about it for a while and surprisingly felt that what he said made sense, nodding slightly. Well, then you will warm my bed before I go to sleep. Don't climb into my bed in the middle of the night. If I had a heart problem, I would have been scared to death by you. Everyone would be shocked if suddenly there was another person on the bed in the middle of the night. But the ninth emperor was silent for a moment. I brought you back to take care of everyone in my manor, so before she could finish her words, the young man suddenly got up and pressed her against his chest. His gentle gaze disappeared and was replaced by a cold aura, even the surrounding air became tense. I will only warm the bed for you, me for extra chapters. His voice was firm and insistent, leaving the ninth emperor with no way to refuse. At this moment, the two were so close to each other. So close that the young man's breath brushed against her face, causing her eyes to narrow slightly. She then raised her hand and pulled the young man's lapel, rolling over and pressing him back. She smirked. Nan Changfeng, I don't like people pressing me down. It has always been only me pressing people down. As long as you let me warm your bed, I'll do whatever you want. Nan Changfeng smiled, and the coldness on his face gradually dissipated. The ninth emperor frowned. She perhaps did not understand. Nan Changfeng just said that this was only one of his chores, but he looked so persistent to warm her bed. What actually he wanted from her? However, all her suspicions disappeared as she looked into the young man's pure eyes. She could have overthought it. Nan Changfeng was not someone who had ill intentions. He came here for her, so it was understandable that he was unwilling to take care of others. The ninth emperor had some headaches as she thought about this messy cloud mountain. Should she find some more people to take care of those women? All right, the ninth emperor agreed to Nan Changfeng's suggestion. You can warm my bed only, but you have to cook for others, too. I do not want to find other men to take care of them. Otherwise, I am afraid that all of them will be furious and cause trouble in my cloud mountain. The girls in her manor hated men. When she brought back Nan Changfeng, she noticed that they were already unhappy. If she brought another man back, the girls might just burn down Cloud Mountain. However, if she brought some girls back, she could not let them do the chores. The girls had to be spoiled. Nan Changfeng nodded slowly with a smile upon his lips. All right. So, what do you want to eat tomorrow? The ninth emperor stroked her chin. You can just cook whatever you want. When she was at home, she would occasionally make some herbal dishes. However, when she was not here, she was afraid the girls would eat raw food for a long time. So, as long as the cooked food could be eaten, everything was good. I'm going to go back to sleep. You, go back to your room. The ninth emperor stretched lazily, leaning on the back of the bed. All right. I will bring the meal in for you tomorrow, so you don't have to go out for your meal. Nan Changfeng smiled faintly. The ninth emperor was fine with these words. They were all eating separately in their room. So she did not feel that there was a problem with what Nan Changfeng suggested. After a final look at the ninth emperor, Nan Changfeng got up and left her bed. After Nan Changfeng had left the room, drowsiness came again. The ninth emperor felt sleepy again and continued to sleep. The next day, the dining room looked a bit dusty because no one had used it for a long time. Nan Changfeng stepped in with his white robe. He looked around, and his face was expressionless. Qing Zhu, a green snake slithered out of his sleeve, enveloped by a burst of green light, and gradually transformed into an elegant young man. Master, Qing Zhu turned to look at Nan Changfeng. He might not be fully awake yet as he lazily asked, "What are you calling me for?" Nan Changfeng looked at him coldly. "Cook." Qing Zhu's face stiffened. "Cook? Me?" "Yes," Nan Changfeng nodded calmly. "Later, you will follow what I do, and I will teach you." The corners of Qing Zhu's mouth twitched, and his gaze was filled with surprise. "Master, why are you asking me to cook? If you want to do it, just do it yourself." Why did he have to ask him? Me for extra chapters. Nan Changfeng's face was expressionless, and his voice was clear and cold. "The meals I make are for her alone. You can cook the meals for the others." Qing Zhu looked at Nan Changfeng, dumbfounded. The human world is too complicated. It's not something that a snake like me can understand. But, Qing Zhu wanted to cry. Why would his master think that a snake could cook well? Nan Changfeng's voice grew colder. "If you refuse, then it is useless for me to keep you. Later, I will make snake soup for her. Snake soup is a great tonic, so I don't want to waste it." Qing Zhu froze, and he looked at Nan Changfeng in disbelief. Master wants to cook me to serve a woman. He wanted to cry but held it back. "Oh, all right, Master. Just give me the orders. I'll do the rest." Nan Changfeng smiled faintly. In his life, he would only warm his bed for her alone. His cooking skills, too, should only be tasted by her alone. A burst of fragrance awakened the Ninth Emperor. She opened her eyes and saw a table full of delicacies. The scent enticed her and made her stand up immediately. "I have prepared the water for you. Now, do you need me to dress you?" The young man smiled gently. "That won't be necessary." The Ninth Emperor climbed off the bed, dressed up, and freshened up before sitting at the table. Her eyes lit up. "You did all of this?" "Well, I've always needed to take care of myself when I'm away from the Nan family these few years. That's why I know how to do everything." "Oh, did you prepare one for Tian Xian and the girls?" The Ninth Emperor raised her head to look at Nan Changfeng and asked. Nan Changfeng smiled. "Their foods have been sent over. However, theirs was cooked by Qing Zhu." Of course, he did not say it out loud. Nan Changfeng's cooking skills were indeed good, at least, it was the best meal that the Ninth Emperor had eaten over the years. Even better than those in restaurants. "Changfeng, from now on, you will stay by my side. Don't leave again." The Ninth Emperor put down the chopsticks in her hands and smiled. "If I get used to your cooking, I'm afraid that I won't be able to get used to others anymore." "Great." Nan Changfeng gently brushed the Ninth Emperor's hair and combed her long hair. Her body stiffened. He was so close to her, and she was a little uncomfortable. However, she was not disgusted. "Sit down. We will have a meal together." "I'm not hungry." Nan Changfeng shook his head smilingly. "I'll just watch you eat." "Why?" "Because watching you eat makes me feel already full." That made the Ninth Emperor almost choke on her food. She looked up at Nan Changfeng, and her face darkened. "You mean you can't eat when you see my face?" Nan Changfeng was speechless. He was silent for a moment. "I mean, you're showy." Oh, only then did the Ninth Emperor breathe a sigh of relief and quietly put down the brick she held in her hand. I thought you couldn't eat after seeing my face, me for extra chapters. One earlier, she had almost smashed him with the brick in her hand. Fortunately, it was only a misunderstanding. However, soon, the Ninth Emperor was attracted by the food and did not talk more with Nan Chongfeng. She ate all the dishes served to her. When Tian Xian passed by, she happened to see the Ninth Emperor eating the food like a glutton. She was dumbfounded, confused. Ninth Emperor, is it? Very delicious. Why did she think it was only average? You guys don't think Changfeng's food is extremely delicious? The Ninth Emperor put the chopsticks in her hand down and asked. Tian Xian froze, hesitated for a moment, but still answered honestly, average. Just better than us. At least, he cooked the food. They had eaten a lot of raw food, and their requirements were not very high. It was fine as long as it was cooked. However, the Ninth Emperor was acting as if she had been hungry for a long time. Oh, the Ninth Emperor narrowed her eyes. Your demands are too high. Nan Changfeng's food is at least the best I've ever eaten. So, don't ask for too much. If you ask for more, you'll continue to eat raw food. Tian Xian grimaced. She was just telling the truth, and as a result, the Ninth Emperor was too protective of him. However, what the Ninth Emperor said was true. At least, he cooked the food. If she asked for more, she was afraid that they would only eat raw food after this. Tian Xian trembled as she thought of those days. Eating raw food every day. She no longer wanted to live like that. Ninth Emperor, there's a girl outside looking for you. Tian Xian finally remembered the purpose she came to the Ninth Emperor. She hesitated for a moment and asked, is that girl a new one you found, Ninth Emperor? The Ninth Emperor looked at Tian Xian blankly. A girl? Well, that girl seems to be called Shinqingwan. Only then did the Ninth Emperor remember the girl she had thrown out of the illusionary realm. She was stunned and asked, she didn't come yesterday? No, she just got here, Tian Xian replied indifferently. Oh, the Ninth Emperor nodded. It seems that she is too slow, but it's fine. You guys go and prepare a room for her. Soon, she will be a part of our Cloud Mountain. Yes, Ninth Emperor. Tian Xian smiled as she turned and walked out. She left behind only the Ninth Emperor and Nan Chongfeng in the room again. The Ninth Emperor was probably full. She stretched and stood up lazily. She then pushed open the door of the room and walked out. The sunlight poured upon her face. Her face seemed more stunning, and the beauty was magnificent. The people of Cloud Mountain might have accepted Nan Chongfeng, and they were not as wary as they were yesterday, but they were still a little uncomfortable with the sudden addition of a man to Cloud Mountain. These girls did not feel good about men. It's been a long time since I've been to the Divine Herb sect. The Ninth Emperor lowered her gaze. She was silent for a moment, then raised her head to look at the blue sky. Now, it's time to go to the Divine Herb sect. After leaving Cloud Mountain this time, she came back again too hurriedly, passing by the Divine Herb sect without even visiting it. After thinking about it, the Ninth Emperor did not even say goodbye to the people in Cloud Mountain before she left. When she left, Nan Chongfeng stood where she was standing just now, gazing at the disappearing figure pensively. Master, in a flash, Qing Zhu appeared before him and asked, the Ninth Emperor is gone, me for extra chapters. Emisham. Nan Chongfeng faintly responded. He did not say anything and simply headed down the mountain. His white robes fluttered in the wind, like snow, and in just a moment, he disappeared. The Divine Herb sect was one of the 3 great sects in the mainland. The world knew that the Ninth Emperor had autonomy over the Divine Herb sect, so no one dared to find trouble with the Divine Herb sect. The Divine Herbs sect had grown rapidly over the years, and now, it had become one of the three major sections. The ninth emperor had just appeared in front of the Divine Herbs sect's gate when a dragon whistle rang through the sky, emitting an earth-shattering sound as it pounced toward the ninth emperor. As the black dragon rushed toward her, it flashed in the air and transformed into a handsome young man with fair skin and a pair of clear eyes. Ninth Emperor, why did you come to see me so late this time? The young man asked pitifully. Ever since you left me at the Divine Herb sect, you have never visited me, and I haven't even seen you for a long time. He felt as if he was like an abandoned puppy, waiting for his master to come back. I forgot, the ninth emperor's eyes were filled with guilt. Back then, she had tricked this dragon into following her back, and after that, she had totally forgotten about him until now. The ninth emperor's words were like a bolt from the sky, hitting him hard on the head. It made him dumbfounded. Ninth emperor said that she had forgotten me. This woman clearly does not have me in her heart. The young man bit his lip pitifully. Well, the ninth emperor turned to the young man. How is my herb garden? The two little ones that were stolen back then, how are they growing now? Still the same. Oh, the ninth emperor smiled faintly and said, let's go and see my herb's garden. After she said this, she walked in the direction of the Divine Herb sect's back mountain. Within the Divine Herb sect was a place that was forbidden. That was where the ninth emperor's herb garden was located, guarded by the black dragon, and it would never let anyone take even one step into it. At this moment, the herb's garden was filled with the herb's aroma, so refreshing and made one feel so comfortable. In this herb's garden, there was a special place where the two spirit herbs grew. One of them was a small red flower, surrounded by purple leaves, with open spit, and seemed to swallow people. At its side, there was a nourished sapling guarding it. However, due to some pressures, the surrounding spirit herbs appeared to be wilted. It was as if these two spirit herbs had absorbed the spiritual energy in the world. Wherever they were, there was no longer room for other spirit herbs to grow. Not grown yet, the ninth emperor sighed and sat down in front of the two spirit herbs. She grabbed a porcelain bottle nearby, carefully poured it onto the two spirit herbs. Vines grew out of the small red flowers, like a tentacle, gently brushing the ninth emperor's face. The ninth emperor smiled and touched the vines gently as if she was afraid to hurt them. The black dragon looked at it. It then turned around and walked out of the herb garden, watching her from afar. The ninth emperor sat next to the spirit herbs and took out a jug of wine with a smile on her lips. Fu Chen, Qing Han, this time I went out and met an extremely beautiful-looking young man. He is really the most beautiful man I have ever seen. If you guys see him, you will like him too, me for extra chapters. I will bring him to meet you later. I just don't know when you will grow up. She lay in the field of spirit herbs lazily, smiled, and drank a jug of spirit wine. Her smile was so stunning that it was unforgettable. The black dragon came in just in time to see this stunning scene. He froze and was lost in his thoughts. The ninth emperor is so beautiful. Even when she's sleeping, she still looks so stunning. The young man smiled as he slowly walked toward the ninth emperor, lying on the ground. He stopped when he reached her, and his gaze fell upon her stunning face. If he could follow her for the rest of his life, no matter how much he was asked to pay, he was willing to do so. The young man squatted down and gently caressed the ninth emperor's face. Her skin was very smooth, and the young man could not move away for a while. However, the ninth emperor abruptly opened her eyes. She gazed sternly and coldly at the young man. This was the first time he had seen such a look from the ninth emperor, and he could not help but freeze and tremble. Are you a man? The ninth emperor tilted her head and asked lazily. The black dragon froze. Ninth emperor, Get lost. The ninth emperor kicked the black dragon, sending him rolling a few meters away. His body rolled on the ground, down the hill. She then lay on the ground again. Her red dress spread around her body. It was the most stunning scenery in this herb garden. The small red flower with purple leaves began to grow larger under the light wind gradually and finally became a quilt-like size, gently covering her body, blocking the wind of the night for her. The next day, the ninth emperor woke up and found that the sky was already bright. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and stood up from the ground. The first thing that caught her eyes was the shivering figure of the black dragon at her feet. His body was curled into a ball, and his black robe was stained with dust. He looked at the ninth emperor pitifully. He looked like he was about to cry. Seeing the black dragon in such a pity state, she was stunned and asked, "What did you do last night? How did you get so messy? Oh, did I not become like this all because of you?" Of course, the black dragon did not dare to say it out, so he chuckled and said, "I took a nap yesterday and accidentally rolled down the mountain. That's why I am like this." Oh, the ninth emperor frowned. "I'm leaving later." Leaving? The black dragon froze, stood up from the ground, and walked toward the ninth emperor. "You just came back, and you're leaving already." Back then, he was determined to follow the ninth emperor, so he had come to Divine Herb's sect with her without rebellion. However, after she left him at the Divine Herb sect, she had disappeared and only just returned now. "I didn't expect her to come back for just one night and leave again, The ninth emperor shrugged. "I just came back to see these two spirit herbs, and now that I see that they are growing well, I am relieved. Big Black, from now on, they are still in your hands. You must take care of them for me." But, what about me?" The Big Black did not ask that out loud. Perhaps, in his heart, it had long had an answer. Me for extra chapters. The ninth emperor left after saying that and never looked back. Big Black stood behind her, gazing at her figure for a long time, and did not look away. Until her figure completely disappeared, he was still standing in the distance, dazed. His black robe fluttered a little in the light breeze. His handsome face was full of aggression and reluctance, but he still did not speak to stop her from leaving. "The ninth emperor is very busy. She has a lot of things to do. So, how can I hold her back?" After he raised the two spirit herbs to maturity, he would go to her. Unfortunately, the black dragon never thought that he no longer had the opportunity to leave the Divine Herb sect. When he was finally able to go looking for her, he would use a different identity and accompany her for the rest of her life. On top of the mountain, the young man, dressed in white, stood on the ground. He stared at the ninth emperor, who had just come out of the Divine Herb sect. He smirked. Standing next to the young man was a man in a green robe. He followed the young man's gaze, and after seeing the ninth emperor stepping out, he froze. For some reason, he always felt that his master seemed to be inseparable from the ninth emperor now. "Let's go." The young man turned around and walked away. "Let's go back to Cloud Mountain." "Master, is the ninth emperor going back?" "Yes," Nan Changfeng smiled coldly. He frowned as he thought of the black dragon yesterday. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He then turned to look at the ninth emperor, and a gentle smile suddenly bloomed upon his face. The young man in the green robe was stunned. The ninth emperor has poisoned master. Since he followed his master back then, he had never seen his master cared so much about a woman. Now, his master was even secretly following her. TSK, Qing Zhu shook his head. Human feelings are just complicated. Even master has fallen into it. I don't want to be like him for the rest of my life. The ninth emperor came out of the Divine Herb sect after checking up on her spirit herbs. Since she had finished her task, she should also return to Cloud Mountain. The Cloud Mountain was not very far from Divine Herb's sect. Only by walking, a night was enough to get there. However, when she entered the mountain, she found that Cloud Mountain was very quiet today. Even though she was not used to this quiet, she did not have any suspicion and walked straight into Cloud Mountain. Usually, every time she returned, Tian Xian and others would stand here, waiting for her. However, there was no one here this time. She frowned and rushed toward the backyard. Along the way, she did not find a single person. It was very quiet and filled with a cold aura. Until she stopped after she saw the young man standing in the lake. The young man was very beautiful, with fair skin. His long silver hair was very dazzling, and he looked more stunning under the sunlight. It actually made the 9th emperor want to marry him. Just when the 9 emperors hesitated, the young man had already pulled her hand and dragged her into the lake. The 9th emperor broke the water surface. Her wet hair stuck to her cheeks. She then asked, "Where are Tian Xian and the girls, me for extra chapters?" "Oh, they said they hadn't come down for a long time, so I gave them some silver, and they left." Qing Zhu hid in the tree. Hearing this from Nan Chongfeng, it could not help but chuckle. Obviously, it was Master who asked me to coax and persuade the girls to go out and had spent countless amounts of silver on this. Now he suddenly said that the girls wanted to go down the mountain. Oh, the 9th emperor was relieved. She smiled, raised her hand, and pulled Nan Chongfeng close to her. Their bodies almost touched each other, and she could even feel his warm breath. "Chongfeng, don't appear in front of me like this again," she smirked. "Otherwise, I will force you to marry me." Nan Chongfeng smiled. His body was floating in the lake water. His pair of eyes were very clear and made him look so innocent. Seeing this pair of eyes, the thought that she had just now suddenly disappeared. To her, Nan Chongfeng was as pure as the white paper. "If you want to force me, then," Nan Chongfeng smiled. "I can't resist." The 9th emperor was speechless. It sounded as if she was a bully. The 9th emperor smiled and patted Nan Changfeng's handsome face. "If I'm a cruel woman, I would have married you when I brought you back." But she did not say anything more and just wanted to leave the lake. Qing Zhu quickly noticed her and threw the fruit's peel into the water. The 9th emperor accidentally stepped on it, slipped, and lunged toward Nan Chongfeng. Nan Chongfeng reached out, wrapped his arms around her waist, and both of them fell into the lake. However, he held the 9th emperor tightly and did not let her go. The lake water was clear, and the 9th emperor could see Nan Changfeng's handsome face in the water. She leaned against his chest, and the warmth made her heart suddenly beat faster, so fast that it almost jumped out of her chest. This was the first time in her life that she had this feeling. He was just a naive young man whom she had just abducted. The 9th emperor panicked. Her hand fell upon Nan Changfeng's chest, forcefully pushing him away. She then got out from the lake with a splash of lake water. Nan Chongfeng followed closely behind her. His smile was stunning, but his eyes were always fixed upon the 9th emperor. The 9th emperor gritted her teeth and jumped out of the lake. Her wet dress revealed the outline of her body as she rushed toward the backyard. When the 9th emperor left, Nan Changfeng's face sank, and he glanced coldly at Qing Zhu, who was hiding in the tree. "What did you see?" Qing Zhu froze for a moment. I didn't see anything. In the future, when she's here, you are not allowed to appear." He sneered. The 9th emperor was just drenched, and her dress stuck to her body. With such a look, he could not let others see it. Even though Qing Zhu was just a snake, he was still a male snake, so, if it were not his contracted spirit beast, perhaps he would have ruined its eyes just now. Qin Zhu subconsciously gulped, trembling. I've helped Master just now, but why is Master so angry? Master, get lost. Alright, me for extra chapters. Qin Zhu leaped from the tree and hurriedly left. It's so fast, as if someone was chasing it from behind. The ninth emperor went straight back to her room to change her clothes. After changing, the ninth emperor sighed in relief. Her gaze sank as Nan Changfeng's stunning face appeared in her mind. Next time, if Nan Changfeng tempted her unintentionally, and if she were to do something harsh to him as payback, it would be Nan Changfeng's fault. As for why it was unintentional, Nan Changfeng was not only innocent but also seemed to have a pure heart and mind. So, it could never be intentional. It must be an unintentional act. Suddenly, someone pushed open the door of her room. The ninth emperor looked up and saw the young man's handsome face. He was already dressed in white, as handsome as an immortal, slowly walking in through the door. A smile grew upon his face. Changfeng, the ninth emperor touched his face gently. If you want to bathe, do it in your room. Don't do that again in front of me. Nan Changfeng smiled. After you picked me up, I am already your man. So, whatever you want to do, I will not refuse. The ninth emperor's face darkened. This guy really thought of her as a bully. She brought him back only as a handyman, and she never had any other intention. If he was so careless again that made her have any ill intentions, that would be his fault. Changfeng, did Tian Xian and the girls say when they would be back? I don't know, and it might take a while. There was a smile in Nan Changfeng's gaze. The ninth emperor frowned. Why does it take so long? What are they going to do? It might be because they haven't left the mountain for such a long time, so they don't plan to come home so soon. Oh, the ninth emperor stroked her chin. Cloud Mountain was suddenly quiet, and she was still a bit not used to it. Then, let's go and find them. Let's go. The ninth emperor stretched her body and walked out of the manor. Fengyan Kingdom. Imperial City. It was bustling and lively with people. Tian Xian had never left the mountain since she was taken back by the ninth emperor a few years ago, and this was the first time she had left and gone so far away. Tian Xian, the green-dressed woman on the side named Dongfang Yu, gazed at such a bustling scene with a light in her eyes. I actually think that Nan Changfeng is not a bad person. At least, he has a lot of money and gave us so much money. Tian Xian pursed her lips. She was scornful of Nan Changfeng, but it was only because of the ninth emperor. If that guy did not have any wrong thoughts about the ninth emperor, she would be able to accept him. Nan Changfeng said that there is a restaurant over here with food that tastes good. Why don't we go and try it? A bright smile raised upon Tian Xian's face. After leaving Cloud Mountain, they were instantly attracted to the bustle of this new world. She and Dongfang Yu liked the food, while the others had no appetite for food, so they went to other places. At this moment, only Dongfang Yu and she were left within the imperial city. Let's go, me for extra chapters. Dongfang Yu's eyes lit up as she smelled the fragrance from the tavern. However, just as she was about to walk into the tavern, a person suddenly walked past her with a spring in her steps and into the tavern. The person was a beautiful girl, followed by the guards. Those guards were apparently wary of everyone, so they gave Dongfang Yu a fierce push away. Dongfang Yu stood firm, her eyes were filled with anger. She turned to look at the group of people at the front. Just as she was about to burst out in anger, Tian Xian raised her hand, pulled her sleeve, and shook her head. Don't forget. We are out here representing the ninth emperor, so forget it. If you are taking to heart such a little thing, wouldn't it embarrass the ninth emperor? At this moment, Tian Xian had already forgotten that no one knew that they were the Ninth Emperor's people because they had never taken a step down from Cloud Mountain. However, at the bottom of her heart, she always put the Ninth Emperor's reputation first and did not care about anything else. The beautiful girl, perhaps sensing something, looked back at Tian Xian. She frowned, and soon she withdrew her gaze again and turned toward the inside of the tavern. "Noble lady," the servant who followed the girl said indignantly, "those two women dared to block your way." Mu Qingya smiled. "No harm. Don't mind them." As she said that, Mu Qingya was already walking toward the table on the second floor and never looked at the two women outside the tavern again. Tian Xian frowned and looked at Mu Qingya coldly. She hesitated for a moment before stepping inside. Unfortunately, the last table was booked by Mu Qingya, and they could only dine in the hall. Inside the tavern were voices of discussion filling the hall. "I heard that noble lady is going to get married to the Imperial Preceptor." The person who was supposed to marry the Imperial Preceptor was Little Nine of the Mu family. Unfortunately, Little Nine disappeared 20 years ago. She and the Imperial Preceptor had been engaged since childhood. Not long after her disappearance, the old lady of the Mu family forced Mu Yi to marry the princess, and later, she gave birth to Mu Qingya. It is rumored that Mu Yi was put under countless pressure after marrying that wild woman. With the Mu family power, how could Mu Yi marry that kind of woman? Later, after the woman and Little Nine's disappearance, Mu Yi listened to the old lady and married the princess. Fortunately, he married the princess. Now, the Mu family has such achievements. Noble Lady Qingya is a talented girl since childhood and cannot be compared to even Little Nine. The Mu family was big, one of the top families in this kingdom even before getting into the imperial family. Little Nine was born when there were already 8 children, so according to the family's custom, she became Little Nine of the Mu family. After Mu Yi became the emperor's son-in-law and the prince's sidekick, he moved out of Mu Manor. Mu Qingya was a noble lady, so she did not have to follow the family's custom. Tian Xian was enjoying the food in front of her but paused when she heard these words. She seemed somewhat bewildered. Little Nine of the Mu family, this name seemed somewhat familiar, and she seemed to have heard it somewhere. However, she could not remember it. The servant looked at Tian Xian with a sarcastic smile. "Noble lady, look. I didn't expect such vulgar countryside people in this imperial city. It's as if they hadn't eaten their whole lives." Bang! Dongfang Yu smashed her chopsticks on the table. She was just about to fight back when Tian Xian, sitting next to her, gave her hand a pump and shook her head. "We can't bully the weak, and it will bring shame to the Ninth Emperor." With these words, she deliberately lowered her voice to ensure that no one next to her could hear. Me for extra chapters. Otherwise, if people knew that they were the Ninth Emperor's people but still ate so greedily, it would definitely embarrass the Ninth Emperor. However, she really could not control herself. This outside meal was extremely delicious. It had been countless years since she really enjoyed such a delicious meal that it made her want to cry. Mu Qingya stopped and turned to look at the two girls. She frowned and turned away. "Ollie, you have to remember that there are still many poorer people in this world than the servants and slaves of our manor. There is no need to judge them, whether they are vulgar or rude. It has nothing to do with us. It is enough for us to know our manners." There was a silence in the tavern. Everyone looked at Mu Qingya longingly and yearningly. Dongfang Yu almost choked to death. No need to judge. She has already said what she should say, vulgar and rude, and yet she says there is no need to judge. Such a bitch. Dongfang Yu sneered. Tian Xian, we are so unlucky today to meet such silly people while we are enjoying delicious food. How dare you? The servant was furious and turned to Dongfang Yu. You were the one who was rude to my noble lady. You blocked her way when you saw that she wanted to enter the tavern. If not for the kindness of my noble lady, these guards would have already beaten you 1,000 times. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.